In the quiet neighborhood of Crescent Oaks, 48-year-old Daniel Reeves found comfort in his weekend hobby building small wooden birdhouses. After a stressful week working as a systems engineer, his workshop became a sanctuary. The sound of hammer and saw, the scent of fresh cedar, it was his therapy. He hung the birdhouses on his trees, painted in soft blues and greens, attracting finches, robins, and wrens. For Daniel, it was harmless beauty. For the neighborhood, it added charm. Children walking by would point and smile. But one morning, a neatly folded letter appeared on his porch stamped with the HOA's emblem. It stated, in cold legal wording, unauthorized exterior modification in violation of Section 5.2. Daniel frowned. It's a birdhouse, he said aloud, confused. He checked the HOA handbook. Section 5.2 mentioned unauthorized structures, but there was no reference to decorations or wildlife houses. He assumed it was a misunderstanding until the HOA emailed him a second warning, this time with a threat of fines. What started as a hobby was about to turn into a neighborhood war dot at the next HOA meeting. Daniel showed up politely, holding photos of his birdhouses. These are for the local birds, he explained. They're small, decorative, and don't touch any shared property. Sitting across from him was Margaret Hall, the HOA president, a woman known for her sharp tone and obsession with visual uniformity. She barely looked at the photos. Our policy prohibits unapproved exterior fixtures, she said. Even birdhouses. They disrupt the neighborhood aesthetic. Daniel raised an eyebrow. So, color is fine, gardens are fine, but birdhouses are not? Margaret's reply was cold. Rules are rules. A few of his neighbors tried to defend him, saying the birdhouses were beautiful. But Margaret ignored them. The board voted 3-2 to demand removal within 10 days or face a $200 fine. That night, Daniel sat on his porch, listening to the birds he'd sheltered. He couldn't believe it. He was being punished for helping wildlife. His wife, Elena, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. They can't control nature, she whispered. And that's when Daniel got an idea, clever one. Paragraph 3. The loophole, 400 words. Daniel reread the HOA bylaws, line by line, searching for any clause that mentioned wildlife. Then, he spotted something strange in section 9.4. Wildlife conservation structures approved by local environmental ordinances shall be exempt from HOA design limitations. His eyes lit up. He called the state wildlife office, explained that his birdhouses encourage native species, and within a week, received a certification stating his property supported approved wildlife habitats. With that certificate in hand, he mailed a copy to the HOA and wrote, in compliance with Section 9.4 and State Code 12B Wildlife Protection, my structures are exempt. Margaret was furious. She called an emergency meeting, insisting the clause was outdated. But it didn't matter, the law was on Daniel's side. Neighbors started whispering. Word spread that he'd found a legal loophole to protect his birdhouses. Suddenly, what began as one man's hobby became a symbol of quiet resistance. A week later, Daniel woke up to find one of his birdhouses missing. Someone had taken it during the night. Then came another HOA letter claiming his fixtures posed potential safety hazards. This time, Daniel didn't reply with words. He installed a small camera near his porch. 2 nights later, it captured a blurry figure removing another birdhouse. The person wore a jacket with COHA embroidered on the sleeve, Crescent Oaks, HOA. He took the footage straight to a local journalist who'd covered HOA abuses before. The next evening, the story aired on the 6 o'clock news. HOA harasses homeowner over birdhouses. The video spread online like wildfire. Comments poured in from across the country. Who finds someone for helping birds? This HOA has gone insane. The board was suddenly on the defensive, and Margaret's smug tone vanished. Under public pressure, the HOA called an emergency community meeting. Dozens of residents showed up, some angry, others curious. Daniel stood before them, calm but determined. "This isn't about birdhouses anymore," he said. "It's about our right to live without being bullied over harmless things." An elderly neighbor stood up and said, "They told me to remove my garden gnome last year. I wish I'd stood up then." Another woman added, "They fined me for having a flag on my porch." Within minutes, a wave of support rose in Daniel's favor. When the time came to vote on whether to revoke the HOA's authority over decorative exterior elements, the motion passed overwhelmingly. Margaret's leadership collapsed overnight. Weeks later, the HOA reformed under new leadership. Daniel's wildlife certification was adopted as a model for the neighborhood. The new board even encouraged residents to build their own birdhouses, bat shelters, and pollinator gardens. Daniel became an unexpected local hero. A reporter interviewed him again, asking what drove him to fight back. He smiled, holding one of his cedar birdhouses. "I just didn't like being told that kindness to nature was a violation." Soon, children began painting birdhouses as a community project. The neighborhood transformed from controlled conformity to creative collaboration. Even former critics quietly built their own bird shelters. Months later, Daniel sat on his porch, sipping coffee as sparrows fluttered in and out of the colorful birdhouses. What once caused tension now brought harmony. "Sometimes," he mused, "you have to use their rules to remind them what fairness means." The camera panned over the peaceful neighborhood, birdhouses swinging gently, laughter echoing from the park. His story spread across social media under the title, "The Birdhouse." Loophole. It inspired thousands to read their HOA bylaws and stand up for simple freedoms. Crescent. Oaks was no longer a place of silent submission. It had become a symbol of resilience and community spirit.